according to Meta, you can split this traffic 50-50 and have ad set A and ad set B go after different users inside of those audiences by creating different ads. The issue, though, is the ads have to be so uniquely different that ad set B can't go into ad set A, and ad set A cannot go into ad set B. And this is where I find that the majority of media buyers or people that are in this industry sometimes can't differentiate in their brain how to actually execute that, or at least portray it to a creative team in order to get it done well enough that it will force Meta's AI to do that. Meta's AI is not designed to have this kind of, this vertical bar here. It doesn't want that vertical bar. So we have to say, okay, how do we get to split the traffic?
A lot of times people will say, and I've seen this, right? This is very common in the space where it's like you have one ABO campaign and then you have a test ad set and then you have a core ad set. And so it's one of those questions of like, well, do you force spend into the test ad set or do you just add the creative to the core ad set? And to keep it short, we add the creative to the core ad set. We don't push it into the test ad set in this scenario. So what have you seen, or what's kind of the thought process behind like the reasoning as to why we like to push more into the winning ad set versus the, I guess you could say, the test ad set whenever you're just trying to get more creative?
Yeah. So this actually comes from Meta themselves. And there's that one lady named Grace Pittner. And she actually got me to think about Meta in a completely different light because she's been working, exclusively with the Andromeda engineers. So we saw this. This was January 27th of last year. So this has been going on for a year now. So I've had some good amount of time to test it. And we've, had to even take down 25 out of 26 accounts kind of thing in order to get this to function the way that Andromeda wants it to function. So here's the main thing that we have to kind of talk about. Now I'm going to bring up Paint because I'm bringing it back now because you started using some fancy dancy thingy. We have to look at it like
mirror
this.
Boards, John.
I'm slow on mirror boards. I'm like, where do I find my circle? So you have to look at it this way, as in this is the audience, and you have essentially ad set A, and then you have ad set B. According to Meta, you can split this traffic 50-50 and have ad set A and ad set B go after different users inside of those audiences by creating different ads. The issue, though, is the ads have to be so uniquely different that ad set B can't go into ad set A, and ad set A cannot go into ad set B. And this is where I find that the majority of media buyers or people that are in this industry sometimes can't differentiate in their brain how to actually execute that, or at least portray it to a creative team in order to get it done well enough that it will force Meta's AI to do that. Meta's AI is not designed to have this kind of, this vertical bar here. It doesn't want that vertical bar. So we have to say, okay, how do we get to split the traffic? Because if ad set B can go after both sides and ad set A can go after both sides, well, that's now just called an ad set. So yeah. I'd like to start off before I'm going to try a little different of approach, and we'll do it more conversationally. What is the reasoning why you would do two different ad sets? If you could explain your side, I can address that, because you've heard from the industry. I don't hear that. So that's why I think I would like to understand more before I just be like, here's what to do.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So a lot of times, people, the whole goal of adding other ad sets originally, and I'm kind of giving the story behind it, is like you test different audiences, you test different creative, you'd have more organization over an ad account and that paired really well with the algorithm. That was kind of the old way of doing things. Now with Andromeda, as we know, everything is kind of lumped together, and we're looking at things as to how they're causing changes in other ad sets. We're not necessarily looking at like multiple ad sets being individualized. And so the issue that a lot of people face, and what I see a lot of, influencers and everyone talk about, is they have multiple ad sets inside of a campaign like ABO, and they use those extra ad sets to force test creative. So Meta can see exactly what's working and what's not working, right? So they're kind of carrying over the old way of doing it, kind of letting the audiences go and say, okay, we're doing broad, but they're still taking over the multiple ad sets to say, okay, we're have a batch of new creative, we're throwing in all the creative in here, let's test it on a low budget. But then we have the core campaign over here that has all the old creative, and then when we find the winning creative on one ad set, we carry that over to the core ad set. And one of the issues with that, though, is the deduping, like we just talked about. So but that's the general mindset, is the goal is to try to test creative. They want to see.
We did that too, you and I.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But
we
ours was with different
too.
events, though. So we're assuming same events, though, in this scenario.
We found out events don't matter, though. That's the shitty thing, is it's the audience. And that's what's kind of strange. That's I think where it was explained to us wrong, not from Grace Pittner, but from essentially the literature, is that what they were saying is, if you're using different ad sets, or if you're using the same conversion event, they can jump. If you're using different conversion events, they can't jump. That was the original message. We're like, wow, okay, well, then if that's the case, this, right here, great. Ad set A is going to go after a different conversion event than ad set B. That's a perfect way to keep these people not overlapping. We tested this. And what's interesting about it is we've had this masterclass objective campaign running for some time. Now, the reason, or what this masterclass objective campaign is doing is it's getting first click CAPI imports of users who are watching and completing an hour-long masterclass. So when you see masterclass viewer _MBC, there is 1,450 people who completed the masterclass during April to August of this date range here. And so if we just look at it from like April to August, April 1st to August 31st, no comparison here. So we have these people who finished the masterclass at 1,450. Stop it. We actually had 2,700 start and 1,405 or 50 end. So we said, okay, well, we're warming up this masterclass objective here. And these are two different events, masterclass viewer and purchase NBC. Now, they should not be able to jump across. And if you have two different ad sets, I can test a small amount of ad spend or a high amount of ad spend on either or. And they should be independent of each other, and I can swap them, and they shouldn't steal from each other. That's the thought process, is they should not, and they cannot, and they will not. And you have to double, triple, and quadruple down on it. There's no human possible way that these ad sets can overlap with each other. You have to have that set in stone, permanent, no negotiation. It has to be that way, because if it's not, creative testing is irrelevant. Reason why I say that is because if you're going to creatively test an audience, you should be able to see how that ad is doing by itself as a whole. Now, before we go through the results of the test, one thing that told us that is incorrect, that it will and always will jump, is the fact that the same ad can have a variety of difference of performance, even though it's the same ad. So if we're looking at this ad here, am I getting $61 click-through checkouts, or 25 or 42 or 35 or 27 or 57? It's all Robino video. It's just basically the same video. These actually here are the same exact video, spliced a little bit differently just for a different hook. But this is literally the same exact video. And she's still in the car. She's sitting out front of a store. You can see the store cut off there, and literally the store cut off there, and the store cut off. It's the same video.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would say is, if this is the same video and you're doing creative testing, which one of the videos won?
Could you look at hook rate? Could you look at click-through rate and other things versus just like results? Or amount spent even?
You could. Would that tell you that there's absolutely zero overlap?
No, definitely not. Just purely performance at that point, to try to bypass the overlap from an attribution standpoint.
the question would be, though, is that if this was creative testing of the same ad, if I did this one time in a campaign, if it was overlapping with warm traffic, maybe $25 CPA.
Yeah.
If it's not overlapping with warm traffic, $42 CPA. Same ad.
Yeah. It's all just based on where it shows up in the funnel. Yeah.
Exactly right. But we have to say, no, if you have two different ad sets, that will never happen. Well, we can see that one ad and one ad set is going to even go after different audiences in that ad set. Okay. So that's one. That doesn't mean there's cross overlap, but it does mean that creative testing on one ad and one time, one campaign is a data point.
Yeah.
But you need like 40 more. Same thing when you're looking at this other creator of WETT called Wet. Let's just go back like maximum. This is also the same ad. It's getting 33 or 56 or 20. You know, just depends on what it wants to do that day. So I would disagree that creative testing is a good be all end all. If I spent $500, if I spent $250 and got $21, fuck yeah, great ad. But if I spent $400 and got 56, it's the same damn ad
at that point. Yeah.
It's the same freaking ad. This is the last engaged view of someone somewhere sometime. That's all that tells me.
Do you mind showing
go ahead.
Do you mind showing the hook rate and the outbound click-through rate just to see like if there's a difference there to kind of showcase
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah. What's funny is that all of those pieces of information are also indicative of where they're at in their journey.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense.
So you got hook rate. If I just said like, hey, Caden, you want some bread? But if you've been looking for bread for 2 weeks now, and I come back 2 weeks later, be like, hey, want some bread? You're like, you know what?
I'll have some bread.
Exactly. Now,
maybe some glue as well too.
Exactly. Did the one piece of creative on day 1 or day 30? Which one was better?
Yeah.
So that's why we have to look about it. You can't just say everyone has a 1 second sales cycle. Then yes, creative test is to your heart to set. But if anybody in the history of the time of the world takes longer than 1 second to decide, you're done.
Yeah,
you're toast. It's not a test. It's just how did that ad that do that day, and we hope that's going to a different audience, but no one can really tell. If you get a 20%, you get a 56. But if you get it down worse to 19, you can shave off 50% of your CPA. I know math. You see how stupid this is?
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. No, I totally agree.
Exactly right. It's like this ad, it's within 0.5% of hook rate, but it's within 100% different CPA and also, but the same as spend, but one got 12. Oh no. Okay. Well, what's the CPC? Well, CPC is 90 cents to 52 cents. Oh, wow. Look at all the 52 cents cheap traffic. That's getting much better result. Perhaps. Or this one, if we're looking at $17, $18 CPM, same audience. Cool. Did they click? Maybe, maybe not. They clicked this one way more than they clicked that one. They definitely did. But when you have a high click-through rate, one of our metrics that we know is high click-through rate is equal to what? A lot of last click attribution. You win by default.
Yeah.
You get the most clicks, you get the most attribution. It's spend. Oh, you spent more. You got more clicks. Exactly right. So let's go back now. One more.
Okay. So creative IDs are tracked. Right. So if there's multiple different creatives that are very similar, Meta, the algorithm now with Gem and Andromeda and Lattice know how to match a user based on projected interest in the creative. If it's like a similar creative of that versus like a competitor. Right. Mm-hmm. So they'll say, okay, they resonated with a face to camera video. You have a face to camera video. We're going to try you in the same pool as someone else in the space, right? So it's going to try to match the interest of the user with the ID. Mm-hmm. In most cases, a lot of creative, and people don't want to say this, is very similar, right? So there's a lot of overlap on the IDs of audiences, right? It's like product IDs if you're coming from the Google world. So the question there is that if you have a creative that is, I guess, so different or not anywhere near what you're currently doing or what competitors are doing, maybe it's like, obviously there's some difference or some similarity, but pretty different. Would it justify forcing spend to that so then Meta Lattice can actually force serve that creative to gain information on the ID versus you letting it wait and sit?
Absolutely. And that's literally all our job is nowadays. That means you're basically described like 90% of the media buyer activity now for Meta. And I can actually have a great example of a real life example, an actual business example from a fairly large company. So that is a company that we obtained and now we're growing. The problem is Ellie Tahari is it's for old people. Unfortunately, it is kind of, you're talking about $400, $500, $600 pantsuits. So that one is kind of hard to. Well, that was the old brand. Yeah, there was like kind of like some older style pantsuits. Now this is all of the stuff that we're seeing here. That's in learning is all of our new creative. But check this out. If we look at this ad here, definitely more of like, I'm a 45-year-old female professional. That's who this is not the 19-year-old TikTok generation that wants a mini skirt. Absolutely not. So watch this. If we look at this ad here, this ad, when you're looking at the audiences it's going after from the amount spent, you have the highest amount of audience in 55 to 64. So you basically have exactly right. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now I'm going to actually keep this open and I'm going to actually do like a little bit of a comparison live here. Here's what I thought was interesting. Watch this. You see how this one had a higher amount spent on women, $867 in the 45 to 54 age group. So we got $867 with a 289 CPA. This one has a 944 with a 118 CPA. So you see how we have a higher amount of ad spend on 35 with a CPA of 118 versus a higher amount of ad spend on an older audience with a CPA of 289. That's 289 versus 118. That is a huge difference in CPA on the audience. This one here, older generation style ad. Yeah. This one here, newer generation UGC style ad. Yeah. So just by changing it from a static older style ad to a younger, more UGC style ad, they're attracting the younger audience they want. Now they've been saying like, when we did force ad spend to the younger audience, it was working well at 194. It just didn't go that way. Now, am I going to basically, throw out anything up here and kill volume? No, I don't want to kill volume by excluding that. That does not scale. We don't want to, go away from A, then go to B, save ourselves $100 on a couple of deals and then be like, pat ourselves on the back and be like, we grew a business. No, we want to change the branding and the narrative of the company. This is a massive move, not just a pause the ad, turn on the other ad, pat yourself on the back and get screwed next week when that thing doesn't work. So we got to think about our different mindsets. So yes, we have old ads going to old people and it's expensive, but if we do new style ads to newer audiences, it's much cheaper. 118. This audience here, 194. So same audience, same demographic, psychographic, basically geographic, etc. But an older style ad to a younger audience, 194. That would be forcing spend to the younger audience. Younger style ad that naturally found it, 118. It's $70 cheaper to build a better ad than it is to target the wrong audience with that ad. Yeah, that's exactly right. So it is spend on the creative, but you can't just be like, well, take my old person ad and send it to a young audience. That'll work. No. I do not buy Metamucil or diapers from Depends. Do not show me that shit. Yeah. I'm the wrong audience. Exactly. So those are the type of things that we have to think about is, yes, you can force spend. Yes, you can target the audience. But if you have the wrong creative, you're not going to round peg square hole your way to success. Hey, if you like this video, we have a Skool Community where we have a few hundred members and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the like hyper crazy advanced stuff that's like coming out next month. So few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.